can't see that it's being recorded.
Now I
It's
see it.
recording now.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, so quorum being present, I'm calling the meeting of August 24th to order and proceeding with the first hearing. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw. I'll notice of death of the proposed 19 lots residential subdivision entitled Prospect Hill Estates located at Assessors Map 69, Parcel 87, Map 65, Parcels 20 and 22 off Lake Street and Prospect Street, Franklin. The project includes 19 residential lots, roadway, utilities, grading, and stormwater management system. The project proposes setbacks of 35 linear feet to bank, 80 square feet of land under water bodies, 490 square feet of bordering land subject to flooding, 580 square feet of bordering vegetated wetlands within 1,200 square feet of widths, 1,200 square feet of replication, and total impacts to riverfront area of 126,674 square feet, including 52,000 square feet of inner riparian area and 75,000 square feet of outer riparian area. Paul McManus, Worcester, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Lou Petrozzi, Wall Street Development, Westwood, Mass. The continuations will be held via the Zoom online option on Wednesday, August 24th at 7. Okay, so we're all good to go, and the applicant has requested a continuation so that they can address the peer review comments and the commission's comments, and hopefully they'll take this opportunity to also address the enforcement order that we issued and that the commission signed recently. So I don't think there's anyone here representing the applicant. So that being the case, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of September 28th at 7:15.
So moved.
Ariane,
Second,
Michael. We only have 4 members present, so I'll dispense with the roll call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
I heard 3 in the affirmative. Motion carries. Hearings continue. And thank you. Yep. Proceed with the next scheduled continuation. Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposed project consisting of total embedment of an existing armored slope in order to provide for a stable slope foundation and located within a buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. The filing also proposes 1,330 square feet of buffer zone restoration for buffer zone disturbance. The project is located in Assessors Map 64, Parcel 212, Lot B, 0, Lover's Lane, Bellingham. Mark Arnold, Goddard Consulting, Northbound Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Rick Terrell, South Central Realty, Quarry Drive, Milford. Continuations will be held via the online Zoom option on Wednesday, August 24th at 7:15.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Mark Arnold here on behalf of the applicant to represent the project and answer any last minute questions. I believe at this point, the commission has heard from their peer reviewer, heard from DPW on the proposed plans and project, and has no further questions at this time. But again, if there's anything last minute, glad to answer those.
That observation is correct. And pursuant to our last meeting, the order of conditions has been prepared and distributed for review. And we have received no comment Does anyone wish to add anything at this time relative to the permit? Hearing no comment, I will entertain a
May I
motion.
request that the draft order that the commission's looking to vote on be put on the screen so I can review it? Since it is going to be voted on, it is public record. I'd like to look it over.
Public record until we vote on it.
Oh, it's been generated and circulated to the commission as part of the project file.
Well, we have to do that because they need to know what they're voting on.
Well, I agree, and the public needs to know what the commission is voting on as well. So that's why I'm asking I just want to look it over. I don't think I'll comment. I don't think there'll be an issue with it, but I would just like to be able to tell the applicant that the commission conditioned a project and I was able to see those conditions. Because the public has the right to know what conditions the commission's enforcing on this applicant. Because the public may want to comment on those conditions and maybe add to those conditions. That's possible.
And this is exactly why we have the appeal process, Mark. Because if the applicant is unhappy with the order of conditions, you can certainly reach out to us or DEP or however avenue that you want to address those. I don't think you're going to find any surprises. We've been through this whole process before. You know what our policy is. And I don't think that's a violation of any law. We're trying to expedite your permit tonight. This is how we do it. We could have closed tonight and then issued, and then sent everything out in a week or so.
21
We're
days.
just trying to move things along for you.
So so that's fine. You can proceed. Just for the record, I'm going to state that the applicant was not able to review any of the conditions that the commission is voting on, and those conditions were not read into the record of the hearing before the hearing was closed, just so that's clear for the recording. I think it'll be fine, but just in case, I just want to make sure that's clear that the applicant requested that information be provided as circulated to the commission, and it was not provided before the hearing was closed.
We will certainly make note of that. Thank you.
Trust me, it's not denied. Okay, that being the case, is there any further question or comment from the applicant's representative, public, or the commission? I will entertain a motion to close the hearing and sign the distributed order of conditions.
So moved.
Carry on,
second,
Michael? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
To make it clear, I will vote in the affirmative. Okay, motion carries. The order will be distributed. Mark, the applicant, and yourself will have 21 days to review and appeal should that become necessary. But as you stated, it's highly unlikely that it will be necessary.
And you would like the order sent to you, Mark?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Thank you. Have a good
very
night.
much. By the way, we're very pleased with the open space restoration plan. I think it's going to be a real win for the general overall environment on the site.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And I think representatives from our next hearing are here. It's Tom Schultz from Goddard.
Good evening,
Hi.
everybody.
What time did you ask them to be on? 7:30?
7:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because most of this meeting is administrative. We're in the unusual situation where we're way ahead of schedule. So, do we have any new business?
Well, we can figure out when we can sign this permit that we just voted on.
Tom, what we want to do is we want to provide every opportunity for anyone who saw an older version of the agenda to be able to participate should they so desire.
I'm just gonna give them a few
We're
minutes.
gonna give a few minutes, and so we'll do a couple of little housekeeping items that we need. Who's available to sign? We have some vouchers and some permits. Mike, you're in New York.
I am in New York until at least next Thursday and probably Friday from family matters. So I will, unless you want to courier it over and back, not be able to reach that far to sign.
All
Maybe,
right.
maybe Neil and Brian can pitch in.
Well, Neil's not here.
All right.
Ladies, can you help us out here?
Yeah, I'll be around Saturday morning.
Okay.
Okay,
And
Ariane,
is that Ariane?
I think I'm gonna be in Boston.
Who's
Like
gonna
maybe
be-
do like early next week.
Ariane's gonna be in Boston.
Early,
The
next
rest of the week and this weekend, or
early next week. Do you have any idea when next week?
Um. Maybe, well, could I do like Thursday next week? Because I'll be working from home next week.
Yeah, sure.
it's
Thursday.
within the window.
Yep, yep.
And you know, maybe we can, maybe we can get Mike to sign next Thursday too. We have
I'm back
21
in the-
days to,
Yeah, I'm back in town.
Okay, so next Thursday, so you'll reach out to me and let me know when you can come in? Did you come?
Yep.
Yes?
and Michael, you said you'll be around next Thursday?
Well, the soonest I would be around looks like Thursday, and since it's family matters, and I'm not sure what some things are going to shake out until early next week, I won't know, but I can certainly keep you posted. Or if it really looks like you're definitely going to need a signature, let me know, and I'll try to see if I can try to firm things up as to whether it's going to be Thursday or sometime on Friday that
Okay,
I can get back. So I'm happy to try to do it, but yeah. So
I won't count on it, but I certainly appreciate.
yeah.
it.
Maybe by Friday.
Yeah, maybe. I'm hoping. I'd certainly like to be back sooner. It's just out of my hands right now and
Of course.
not definitive. One of those things.
Everything's okay.
Yeah, it's just some family health care support that's not fortunately it's not threatening or life threatening or anything. It's just being there for somebody that needs it. And it's
That's
far
okay.
enough
That's a good
distance that I
thing.
can't drive over and back.
No,
No, we get it.
no, of course.
Gotcha.
not.
We get it.
Okay.
Noel, did you say that you could come Saturday?
Yep.
Okay, what time on Saturday? 9?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, I'll see you at the municipal center lower parking lot at 9 on Saturday.
Perfect.
All right, thank
Sounds
you.
like a little clandestine meeting there. I don't know if that's legit.
No, it's a signature meeting.
Yeah. They're all the best kind.
So I'll have to reach out to Neil then.
Right.
Mhm.
I thought maybe he'd be here. Could be
Just
working late.
curious. Just curious, is Brian able to sign something he hadn't been involved in reviewing recently, or is that not good?
I understood that Brian was gonna make every attempt to come to attend our meeting this evening. I know he's got follow-up visits tomorrow or the day after, but I'll reach out to him. It'll give me
Okay.
his-
I mean, from a legal / Concom policy perspective, is it cool? He's a member, so,
Yes, he is. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's nice to have visibility if he's able. That's great. Hope he does well.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Okay. what we'll do is we will, we'll open up the request for determination of applicability. And should anyone from the general public attend prior to the closing or continuation of the meeting, we will give them an update and review the information that has been submitted. Is that okay for all parties?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to us.
Okay.
Yep.
The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the request for determination of applicability to determine the jurisdiction of the isolated vegetative wetland status as vernal pool. Isolated vegetative wetlands located at Assessors Map 87, parcel 63-5, 0 Deer Run Road, Bellingham. Tom Schultz, Goddard Consulting, Main Street, Northborough, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Ron Lucier, Bellingham, Mass. The meeting will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, August 24th at 7:45. Tom, you're going to need to share your screen, right?
Yep.
All right.
Am I good to go?
Are you on that, Ariane?
Me or Noel?
I'm not. Noel. Noel's. Okay.
Should be all set.
All right. So good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Schutz, and I work for Goddard Consulting. If Ryan Rosen also would like to join the chat, he's our wildlife biologist for the project as well. He might be coming in at some point. I know he's a bit behind right now on joining. He had something to do before this. I think he had another hearing. So if you see him show up, he's also a part of the presentation and we'll give a bit of insight as well.
We'll admit him forthwith.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So this is we are coming here for a request for determination of applicability to determine the jurisdiction of a depression behind the property known as 0 Deer Run Road. Here is just an overview of the 3 sites. We are going to be focusing more on this south site right here, and then also a bit of off-site information. Over the months of February through May, we conducted 10 different site inspections to determine if this depression in the ground is, if in fact, a vernal pool, as the determination from 2017 came to the conclusion of. So we did 10 different site inspections looking at 3 different areas. This right here in blue is the subject depression in the ground on the on-site. We also looked at 2 potential mapped vernal pools that are to the southeast of the property here. These are mapped on Mass Mapper and also looked at by the Massachusetts state, and they are mapped. So from the dates of 2/18, so February 18th through May 31st of 2022, we conducted site inspections. We will start with just a couple of photos here, and we'll also get into a video or 2 just to show some evidence here. So from the dates of 2/18 through 3/15, there was no vernal pool activity at all on any of the 3 sites. This right here is the depression in question. As you can see, there's no vegetation around, as this was in the beginning of February. This is the existing single family house that's being built right now that's greater than 50 feet away from the existing depression. So as we move through these down to 3/15, we're not going to see very much. These are before any actual vernal pool activity occurred on and off site. This is one of the off-site vernal pools or potential vernal pools that's mapped. This is the larger of the 2 that are behind the property here. As you can see, there's still just ice covering the top. This is the second one that we also took a look at during the 10 site inspections. This is the one that's more towards the southeast of the off-site 2. As we go to 2/18, we got a little snow. The whole thing is covered. This is the on-site depression. This is the first off-site depression that we have here. We didn't get a photo of the second off-site as it had the same conditions as this off-site pool. 3-7 rolls around, we start to thaw out as we get closer to spring. This again is the on-site depression. This is the off-site depression here, or off-site pool facing southeast. This is the larger of the two. The other one is down in this vicinity. This is the second off-site vernal pool that's mapped. 315, this is the pool. This is the depression on site. You can see it's completely filled with water. We're starting to get some of the vegetation coming up. This is when we started to actually see activity in the other two vernal pools here. So this is when we recorded chorusing in the two offsite pools. However, we did not record any chorusing at the depression on site. So hopefully these two videos will work. Is everybody still seeing my screen here?
We are.
Yes.
So as you could hear, there is no actual chorusing going on in this one. This is taken the same exact day of the offsite second depression. If you'd like me to play any of these videos again, I'm more than happy to. You might just need to turn your volume up a bit more or to put some headphones in to hear some of these. They're just a bit quiet. I'll play this one again just to hear the chorusing of the wood frogs. And then here is our third one. This is the larger of the two pools. We're going to be looking southeast here. We're standing on the top of the ridge with the depression behind us. As you could hear, there's definitely a lot of chorusing going on at these two. However, we did not get that same chorusing at the on-site depression. You could hear that it's silent and not getting the same chorusing that we had in the previous two off-site depressions. Here's just some photos from those days. And then we get to 322. In 322, we get one egg mass in the on-site depression here. This is the on-site depression. We're seeing retraction of water as some of that groundwater is soaking up the pool itself. But we do have one egg mass that is shown here that is on the on-site depression. It is located in this corner right here. The two off-site pools, that's a different story. So this is just a photo of the larger of the two pools. We also did find fairy shrimp in this pool. And we also had 70 egg masses right here. This is the second of this. This is the smaller of the two offsite potential vernal pools. You can see all of the wood frog egg masses here in this corner up against this briar, which is from the clear result of the chorusing that was heard from the week before. This is just more photos of those same egg masses here. So the bigger of the two pools had 150 wood frog egg masses, and the smaller of the two offsite vernal pool had 100 or had 50 egg masses. We're moving to 4-4 here. This is very similar conditions, except this time the on-site depression had 2 egg masses in it. This is moving towards the 2 offsite pools. We can see that the egg masses are still there, and we're starting to get some hatching, and we're getting the tadpole movement in those pools, and we can see that from this area that was sampled in this area here. 411, we have similar conditions to the previous week. We can see our 2 egg masses on our on-site depression here. That's photographed in this location here. Again, we're going to find similar conditions as we go to 425. We have 2 egg masses. And then we get to May 13th, and we can see that the pool itself has completely dried up, and we just have one small damp spot down in the deepest portion of the depression. Here's another angle of it. We can see that we just have this small damp spot. The entire depression has completely dried up and almost entirely, besides this one small little section here. We also see that we're starting to get our herbaceous layer and our shrub layer here, and there's no wetland vegetation aside from this one piece of sedge right in the middle of the pool. This is the offsite vernal pool that we studied. As you can see, it's still completely full of water. The egg masses are still present, and you can see the amount of wetland vegetation that's surrounding that is providing that good habitat for those tadpoles that were hatched and eventually going to turn into frogs. This is 516. At this point, the damp spot has completely vanished and is no longer present. You can see here that now we're just pretty much all dried up. We still have this one piece of sedge here. There are no evidence of tadpoles or egg masses in the on-site depression at this point. This is a photo of the larger of the two vernal pools behind the property. As you can see, it is still completely full of water. The vegetation is thriving, and the tadpoles and egg masses, if still present, are doing great. And this is 523, and we're just going to continue here. We're sharing similar conditions of that dried up with no egg masses or tadpoles. And again, the offsite vernal pool here now with an immense amount of vegetation still holding water. And that's the final of my pictures here. The Bellingham Conservation Commission bylaw does not actually state what breeding evidence is for a vernal pool. It states that you need to have obligate species in it. We did find wood frogs. We found 2 egg masses in it. But however, because they didn't actually define what breeding evidence is, we have to look to the Massachusetts standards. And the Massachusetts standards state that we need to either have an obligate species in it, which we did not, or we need to have a mix of 2 obligate species, which would be the wood frog or spotted salamander and or fairy shrimp. We did not find any fairy shrimp, and we only found 2 egg masses, which does not quantify as a vernal pool in the state of Massachusetts. They also laid out a number of other species to look for under the Bellingham bylaw to quantify it as a vernal pool. We did not find any other species in the vernal pool besides those 2 rogue egg masses that were found. And obviously those egg masses did not survive based on the photos that were taken from May 13th to May 31st. As you can see, the 2 off-site pools are definitely vernal pools. However, the on-site pool definitely does not have the features, the features of a vernal pool, and or doesn't hold water long enough to allow for survival of those tadpoles or egg masses. So this cannot be quantified as a vernal pool in our professional opinion. We also don't believe that this is a isolated vegetated wetland, as we don't have a dominance of wetland vegetation in the surrounding vicinity. We only have these 2 sedges right here that are found. The rest of it is upland vegetation. Finally, we also had a report from 2017 from the BSC group that essentially said that they also agree that there is no wetland vegetation. This is not an isolated wetland, and that this is not considered a vernal pool. I'd like to now open it up to the commission to answer any questions. We also did submit more photos and all that evidence in our depression jurisdiction paper that were submitted with the RDA. I'm not sure if that got passed around to the commission. I'm sure it did. So if you would like to look further at all of that evidence, we're more than happy to show more photos or pull that up itself.
Okay. It's a lot of information to consider and to review.
Absolutely.
And in the bylaw, we talk about vernal pools exhibiting tremendous variation in physical, geographic, hydrologic, and vegetative conditions. And so for the purpose of the regulations, these conditions are not considered reliable criteria. So that being the case, going to the state standards, which is what you would use for certification under the WPA, is not germane to this particular project, because in order for it to be certifiable under the WPA, it would have to be isolated land subject to isolated land subject to flooding, bordering land subject to flooding, or within vegetated wetlands. So the intent of the bylaw is to protect these areas that are marginal, just as this one tends to be. Now, At the time this was done, and it's, by the way, it's not BSC. I believe you'll see.
It's BNC. I'm sorry, that was my mistake.
I think there's a big difference.
No, definitely a big difference. That's my mistake.
And so at the time, what we went out there, we did see and we agreed that there was no evidence. Subsequent to that, in the very next year, there was an application before the planning board, and they requested that we revisit the site, and we did. And we can provide this documentation to you, but in that pool, the water was substantially deeper, and we had a minimum of 20 wood frog egg masses and the presence of fairy shrimp, and that was about April 6th of 18. So, and we can provide that for your consideration. And when we look at this year's conditions, now we all know that a drought was declared, but a drought was declared because of the lower evidence of rainfall. And even though some of these vernal pools, the larger vernal pools themselves, are supplied, I'm sure, by a larger amount of groundwater, the isolated area, I think, relies more on rainfall, based on the fact that in 18 we had 20 egg masses, and this year I think that the hydro period was shortened, although a drought wasn't declared. Leading up to the declaration, there was a paucity of rainfall that affected the hydro period of that, and in spite of that, you found a couple of egg masses, and even though the hydro period wasn't long enough for them to hatch, they existed. So it shows that there was the presence of breeding obligate species. I think I'd like you to see what we found. I mean, if that's okay with you, we can provide you the minutes of the meeting where the applicant requested that we provide him with some information. The applicant with the planning board requested that we provide them with information, and the applicant's representative at that time attended the site visit with us, and based on what we saw in the field, agreed to move the stormwater management system, which, by the way, still hasn't been constructed. which
I'm
is
not
a-
100% sure. I'm not a part of that project
Oh,
at
no,
all.
I
We
understand.
were just,
Yeah, no, you're looking to see whether or not this area is jurisdictional under the local bylaw, and I understand. So I'd like to take the opportunity to provide you with that.
that would be great.
Okay, and then consider, the reduced hydro period, presence of a couple of egg masses, and maybe we can come to some sort of an agreement to further evaluate. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Can you also send anything that was submitted by either the planning board applicant or anything that has to do with that filing in the past? I think that would be helpful.
So, yeah, so we do have some photos that the Conservation Commission took. This was a very interesting experience for us. And I think it just goes to show that vernal pools are really ephemeral. We went out there that first year and didn't find very much. You found more this year than we did that first year. Then we were encouraged to go back. There was chorusing and there was water in that pool, and there were egg masses, and it's documented that there were 20 egg masses in that pool at that time. Our intent here is to protect as many of these special little depressions that carry vernal pool life as we can, and that was the whole intent of the bylaw. And we were not frivolous at all in our determination at that time, based on the evidence that we witnessed ourselves.
So I think what we'd like to do is present the information that we have for your consideration. And continue till you've had an opportunity to look at it and give us your scientific opinion.
Okay.
Um,
We'll definitely also have our wildlife biologist take a look at this too, as they're more of an expert than I am in the vernal pool side of things.
It's not a problem. You made a good presentation. Ryan did not show up.
He's actually in here right now.
Oh, I
He's,
see him.
yep.
We'll ask Ryan if, I mean, because he hasn't seen the information, he may not have been able to. There he is.
Ryan was on site for all of the actual site inspections as well. So he has a good understanding of what the field conditions are. And he was also a part of the RDA. So he does understand what the conditions are and what was submitted in the RDA itself.
Okay, right. So did you hear some of that discussion?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so are you amenable? We'll provide you with the information that we have, the information relative to the filing and the minutes from the meeting. But more importantly, the photo documentation of what we saw in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you send that over, we'll be sure to take a look at it and see what we can, determine from that. I would like just to say, I mean, that might have been a white, a really wet year. As vernal pools can vary from year to year. Breeding evidence can vary from year to year. My assumption is, based on my opinion, that this depression is in most years not enough to support breeding vernal pool life. Perhaps just that one year where you saw the 20 egg masses, that was a really good year. But I think those two vernal pools behind the site are much better, breeding pools, and those had fairy shrimp in it. So I don't know if Tom had mentioned that, but the small depression did not. And I'm just curious. So when you guys found the 20 egg masses in the small depression back in 2018, I think you said, did nobody decided to certify it at that point?
Well, see, we can't certify it.
Why not?
It's not certifiable.
Okay.
What happens is under the local bylaw, we call it a vernal pool, but it's not certain. For instance, the two vernal pools that are offsite,
Yep.
in your opinion, do they hold a quarter acre foot of water?
I don't know. I can't
It's an
imagine.
engineering calculation.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I would assume that they do. They're over 10,000 square feet, and both of them are over 2.5 feet of water in the middle of them. So I would assume that they do hold a quarter acre foot, quantifying them for isolated land subject to flooding.
So Ryan, those are definitely certifiable under the WPA.
Right.
And the intent of the bylaw is try to protect, as the administrator said, the smaller ephemeral pools that in many years will provide you breeding habitat, and maybe in a couple of years they do not.
Mhm.
So
In fact, I think, excuse me, I think we have, under our local bylaw, we have, I can't remember, perhaps 20 that we've identified that are small depressions that have had vernal pool life, and then that we are making every effort to protect under our local bylaw. So they've already been earmarked and they're listed
under the local
under
reg.
the local bylaw, right?
Right. Yeah, I just think, like Tom had mentioned, the bylaw doesn't really state, it doesn't define what breeding evidence is. So like he had mentioned, I'm just going to repeat them, but you'd have to go back to the natural heritage standards, and that's 5 egg masses of an obligate species. And we only saw 2. And
Right, and again, 5 egg masses by obligate species, the salamanders, the wood frogs, the fairy shrimp, but those are in areas that would be under state jurisdiction, bordering land subject to flooding, isolated land subject to flooding, or BVWs. And the intent of the bylaw is to protect the areas that are outside the BVW isolated land subject to flooding or bordering land subject to flooding. That's the whole intent of the bylaw. So breeding evidence is egg masses. and we don't quantify them because we quantify the species because it's a case-by-case evaluation. And so we're going to present you the information, let you digest it, and we'll come back, we'll talk about it. And
Yeah,
then maybe
absolutely.
we can come to some sort of an agreement about what we can do moving forward.
Absolutely. We look forward to doing that.
Okay, so because,
Mr. Chair, quick question.
of course,
Can we get hydrological, US meteorological reports or whatever for the years we found the masses and the ponds versus this current year, which has been, as you said, maybe not an official drought, but certainly rain pause,
We had an official drought in 2018.
what's that?
we had a drought in 2018.
Yeah. I don't know if it was around the time you saw the vernal pools. It was in the fall.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
okay,
see, we
we
saw
got
the
it.
vernal pool in April. The photos will be, I believe, and you'll see it when you look at the properties. I took the pictures. I think it's April 6th or something like that. I don't have them in front of me.
I can pull up that weather data.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to do that. And the year before was 17. My memory is not what it used to be. There's a lot of things we're tracking. So drought proclamations, from 5 or 6 years ago are not really one of them, but we can look at that too. However, I think what we were talking about with Tom, Ryan, is that prior to the declaration of the drought, there had to be a substantially lower amount of precipitation leading into that declaration, and that might have affected the hydro period of the depressed area.
Right. I understand that.
Okay. Well, it's science and our attempt to try to protect those little marginal areas. So I think our next meeting is we don't have a quorum for our first meeting in September. So we're going to the second meeting in September. But at this stage, I'm not sure that anything we do now will make a good determination. Do you have an objection to going to October 12th?
No, we have no objection to that.
Okay.
Is there not going to be a hearing in September though?
Well, there is, but because there's only going to be one meeting in September, the agenda is slammed. So
Okay.
this is the kind of thing, I think it's more efficient and it makes better sense from an administrative standpoint to have this kind of discussion right off the bat, early on in a hearing. You get a 7 o'clock time frame. You've had an opportunity to look at the information. I'll review the information that was submitted, and we'll come up with a plan.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Ryan,
Sounds good.
thank you. That being the case, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of October 12th at 7.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Everybody have a great night.
Thank
So
you.
moved.
Second.
Michael, Ariane, because we have only 4 members present, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's by unanimous vote. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. Motion to adjourn.
We have minutes.
Tina,
Yes, Tina, we know that. And the tenant, unfortunately.
the tenants haven't been mooted.
Okay,
I just completed the minutes for. Wait a minute. Did we do?
No,
July
we don't
22nd?
have any minutes prepared. Nothing went out.
Okay,
Nothing went out. I did receive your minutes today too, for, I think, the last meeting, Tina.
Yep, so there's July 27th and October, oh my goodness, August 10th.
August 10th.
okay, just about completed with the 27th. They'll be done this week. And then I look forward to the August 10th meeting.
I was able to cut them down a lot because I started at like 14 pages and then to 11 and 9, and then I finished with 5 plus 1 signature page. So we cut them down a lot.
That's
Okay,
awesome, thank
and,
you.
you know what? Because this isn't like court reporting. If the minutes are a representation of what happens at the hearing, and if in the event that someone's going to appeal a decision that was made, or the procedures that we utilize during conducting the hearings, the the recordings are available. So this is kind of like, it's not just like a thumbnail sketch. It's a little more than that, a little fleshier than that. But you cut it down, and if there's something that we talked about that I want to add in, I'll just do that. But that's good, because yeah, some of them, they were pretty long.
Yes. Yeah, I do union negotiation minutes, and those
Oh.
have to be word for word. I did Board of Health for 7 years, and those have to be, word for word. So planning and conservation was actually quite easy. Once they said they wanted them cut down, that was great.
Word for word gets to be really unwieldy because of the technicalities of permits and the hearings and the review of the engineering data. So, I look forward to the August 10th ones.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you. You have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Are we adjourning?
I
Okay,
think that's,
before we go,
yes.
in 2018, from January through April, Bellingham got about 5 inches of rain per month, which I think is a little below average, but we also got in January 22.5 inches of snow. And we only got an inch in February, but in March we got 11.8.
So
So,
there was abundant surface water
mm,
to
mm,
contribute to the depth of the water. So I'm going to ask you, Ariane, at some point, can you take a look at the results for 17 and see if they're a little closer to what we experienced this year? Because even though we were going into a drought, we know that the rainfall levels were depressed, they still found a couple of egg masses.
Yeah, and this year is like crazy. Like I think this is one of the worst droughts we've ever
Oh,
Never
had.
seen anything like it.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's definitely a good time to look at vernal pools if you don't want it to be a vernal pool.
Exactly. Thank you, Ariane. Okay, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending. Thank you for your efforts, and our
Stay safe,
administrator,
stay cool.
we'll see you for signatures.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, everyone.
Good. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.